Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirusho here, and now, before we begin, let me give a brief little review. In the last part, a lot of things have happened. Now, Deku, he was ambushed. While he was trying to search around, gathering ingredients for this stink bomb they do have planned to launch at their enemy, there was a problem. He was attacked by some of the orcs from that fortress. And after he was able to hold his own and blow a horn to call his allies to him, they went in retreat. However, he took down a decent amount of their people. Now, whenever they went to go head back to their camp, a corpse flower came to the scene, and this creature smelled putrid, horrible, of decay, and it was exactly what they were searching for. Bula went into retreat. This smell nearly had her on her knees, and she wasn't even close to it. If she's having this bad of a reaction about 100 feet away from it, then he wants to know what the enemy will have as a reaction when they're up close and stuck with that smell in a confined space. Now, Deku showed off slime magic, and the way he tried to use it to restrain his enemy, giving Kirishima a chance to go for a kill shot, and the two, with their little team up, they made quick work of this creature. They took the flowers, put them in their inventory, and gave the remains of the soldiers inside this thing's body a proper burial. It might be quick and simple, but it's at least a way to show they do honor the dead. And their enemies, yeah. Right now, they're not sure. They'll deal with the savages first. Then, hopefully, handle everything else. They went back to camp. And Izuku, he's quite glad he chose Kirishima. He was outnumbered, and he's fairly certain if he didn't have his barrier magic, he might have been outgunned. He took a bit of blows and nearly was overwhelmed. But he was alright. That was an actual life or death situation, and making his way out of it was not as easy as he'd like. Though, right now, he does have forces, troops and people behind them. And we do have, in the early morning the next day, Izuku, he does want to lay there. Him going to climb to his feet as he does wake up. Him leaving the tent before he has a turn. Going to see a man currently walking over who does a look at Deku. Before he does good motion with his hand to follow. And Izuku, he has a turn. Right now someone making their way over to the tent with Kirishima and his party members. As they do to bend down and go to wake him up. Now, we do have a few minutes later, Deku to sit there with a cup of warm black coffee as people are sitting around this tent and they can see their breath, talking about a few things. It's still early in the morning. However, assuming that most of the troops in that fortress are nocturnal, awake at night, this does give them an advantage. During the day they might be seen, yes, but their patrols are lessened, and that means a bit. They need to deliver these corpse flowers directly into the enemy base, and doing so is not going to be easy. They could be spotted and be seen. And Izuku, he does going to mention this idea. It's still early morning, and the longer they wait, the more time they might be wasting. And the commander does get a turn. Him going to step away as a person they do come walking up, expressing about a plan they might be devising. It will mean much, but if they can distract some soldiers using illusions, it can mean quite a bit. They're not too sure about what else might be in that fort other than the orcs they have seen, And if the corpse flower was rampaging nearby, it does mean a lot. If they do project an illusion of it in front of the fort, it could gain their attention, draw their warriors there. And Izuku, he might have the chance to sneak inside. And Deku, he just won't sit there. Someone commenting on the fact that they don't have an invisibility potion, let alone an invisibility cloak. And Izuku, he does a look up. Before, he does a look in his inventory and try to find that one cloak he found, back at the Wyvern Cave, pulling it out and expressing, he does have this. Is there any way that they can enchant it? And everyone, they do to look around at each other. Before, one person, they do to bring their hand up to their face, commenting on it. It's quite possible they can, but the amount of magic they would need. Enchanting that item could work. Is it a regular cloak? Does it have any other enchantments on it? No. As far as I know, it's a regular traveling cloak. It's warm. But that's about it. I see. A man bringing his hand up, commenting on it. Do they have anyone who has potion knowledge? Anything of the sort? There is the swords woman. I believe she might have combat knowledge, but... Do we know anything about her? No, we don't. She's as trustworthy as a fae in my regard. She is still an ally of ours. She is willing to put down the monsters. And no, I do not trust an Oni. That is my one concern. I've seen what her people have done. She might not be from that clan, but she might as well be one of them. The blood runs through her veins. That is enough. All right, Hauser. Fine. But I am telling you, Commander Hawk, this is ill-advised. Trust her as far as you can throw her. On a broken leg. I'll take your word for it. However, she had an opportunity to slit my throat. She didn't. Now, stop your bickering. Or would you rather face the actions of the king? He has ordered anyone who is willing to come here and help. And as far as I'm aware, travelers have come to aid. We can round them up, ask them questions, and see what knowledge they might know. Deku turning. Before, he does try to ask anyone if they know any town nearby that might sell invisibility potions. If that's the case. Let's see. Someone walking over. Before, they'll examine the map and think about it. York, they might have a town shop there. The guild might sell the potions, but at the same time, that's a problem. They don't know about that territory. About that one. They're about here, and the Elven Kingdom is a bit of ways away. Maybe it might be... No, that town there. A man bringing his hand up before they do a walkover and express, pointing about how this town might sell them, but that's at least 50 miles, if not around 60. And Deku does it a turn. Hearing that, it might not be long. He could run there, maybe even try flying, but if he does go full speed, he could return soon. Deku turning and asking Kirishima a question. If he does use that magical boost on him, how long does it last? It varies. I mean, it doesn't work as efficiently on me, but it works well on allies. My party members are happy about it. Why? If you use it on me, just me, how effective do you think it is? If you cast it at a maximum? Um, I don't know. I'd say it might last about 10, 15 minutes at most. I mean, for me, it can last 30, but I try not to let a fight go on that long. I get it. And the cooldown on it? It's got 5 minutes. It's a powerful ability. Don't get me wrong, but it used to be longer. I see. That's good, at the very least. If you use it on yourself, it takes about 2 minutes to cool down. Like I said, it helps other people better than I help myself. I see. Okay. So about 10, 15 minutes, maybe. For you, it's 30. Mind filling us in? I'm thinking. If we fly to that location. Okay, going off the idea that we do combine everything. We fly to that location, we go inside, we get the potion, and then we head there. We get mages to distract them with illusions, who we can. Then that does work. We get the potions, go in and go out. But we'd like to discuss a few things with the Oni first. See if they might know something. And the commander, he does look at Deku's reasoning. Him nodding his head as, after a few more minutes, many of these swordsmen and swordswomen are gathered. And when they do start to hear about this plan and how these two commanders do try to use a tactic, it does intrigue many of them. Deku turning and staying there, as Erodas does try to ask him exactly if he plans to be the one who sneaks in. Him turning, expressing to her. Right now they're not sure. He's faster than Kirishima. He knows that. If he does run there, then maybe. But that's another thing. They're still not really too sure. They'd have to get the potion, figure more things out, get back here hopefully in the same day, and do more. They have until the sun goes down, which might be whenever most forces do rise. Correct. Plus, that's another thing. These flowers are pungent. They're definitely packing a punch. Oh yeah, no, they do. My nose still feels like it's burning from last night. Yeah, you're right about that. Him turning to the commander, expressing to him. They need someone fast. And if there's someone faster than both of them, they need to go. Perhaps the dragonkin. Indra? Maybe. But that could be a toss-up. I do have a skill of my own. Deku turning to the short-haired woman. Him looking at her as she has expressed. She can teach both of them about it. Many Oni do have the ability. But if they are able to conceal their presence, it will mean quite a bit. Izuku nodding his head, following along as she has expressed. They can begin to gain a bit more bearing on it. She's aware that they do learn things rather quickly, correct? Deku turning to Kirishima, who does get a nod. And both of them, they do understand what she's trying to do. Teach them about this ability. Teach them to clear their minds and conceal themselves. Like they're not even there. blend into the world around them. Camouflage. And this idea, it is rather interesting. Though, with their plan currently the way it is, it's going to take quite a bit of time. Then again, if they can get into the fort and get out quickly as well, that does mean quite a bit. And Izuku, he does turn to the commander, informing him of the plan they do currently have. In Kirishima, yeah. Him being here as well, he does go to agree to a few more things, even giving a bit of his own input on these ideas. And Deku, he does appreciate this. This guy is a little bit more quiet. However, he's not stupid or reckless. He's calculating the ideas in his head, going over different variables, and then he does speak. He's trying to be a tactician, though he does seem more like a fighter in his opinion. He can't blame him though. His mentor was an orc, and that, it does still have Deku quite intrigued about it. While Sir Theodore was human, he always should test his mind. And whenever Deku and Kirishima do somewhat sit there, beginning their own meditation with their new teacher, he does ask this question. Him sitting there with his eyes closed, as he does mention that his teacher's name was Zomoth, right? Yeah, it was. Why? Was he a frontline fighter? He was. Though he was interesting. Any particular reason? I'm just asking. He seemed, I don't know, just straightforward. He is. Though, is there any particular reason why you're talking about this now? You two do need to be quiet. I'm just trying to get these questions answered. Him opening his eyes, having a sword stuck in his face before she said tell him, right now that's not the intention of this training. A man coming to walk up, before asking her if she's having trouble with these two. And she does get a turn, looking to a man who does have larger horns. The man turning and telling both of them that they do need to keep their minds cleared and try to pull in the mana they can. Bend it around them. It's not like light magic. However, they do believe that the ancient technique was created using it as a base. Are you them expecting of that skill? No, we're not. I see. Do you have any proficiency with it? No, we don't. But that term, how do you know it? We do ask around. We do learn information and keep our ears open. Though if you do want to get something around us, you do have to be quite skillful. Then again, both of you two are powerful warriors. People will keep an eye on you. And we do like to know information on our opponents. Then again, you both are aware that this is a real battle we'll be going into. I heard about your match against the other. Quite exquisite. Deku brings his hand up. Before he does, try to tell the man it was nothing. Before he does, gonna turn his head and gonna bring his hand up. While him dodged the attack of a sword hilt that nearly bonked him in the nose. And whenever he does bring his hand up, grabbing the handle of her blade, she does go to stare at Deku's eyes. Him immediately turning a lot more serious before he has a second of breath, letting go of the blade handle as she does gonna pull it back and express to him, right now with her sword, that clear his mind. This is the beginning of this. This technique requires it. If he is to one day be a proper champion and be. If he is to one day become a hero, she would like to see this technique grow fruit. And he doesn't nod his head, for he does bring his hands up and begin to try and clear his mind. In Kirishima, he does this as well, still with a lot of ideas in his head about what he might be doing wrong, still concerned, still wary, and trying to keep himself together. It's a harder technique. It's requiring a tactic, not bum rushing an enemy and going headstrong. It's different, and that it does somewhat annoy him. And right now, Deku, he does just sit here with his eyes closed and trying to think. It's just like what Voss has done with him before. Clear his mind. Keep things clear. Taking a breath and vanish. This on his mind. And Deku, he does go to feel around. Right now, him prodding the world with his own mana. Him not attempting to open his eyes. Wary, worried. And right now, he does go to sit here. Before he's to open his eyes and look around. Beginning to see that his party members here, they don't see him. And whenever he does go to smile, he has to reappear. Them trying to ask him if he's done it, if he has this down. And he does try to tell them. He thinks he does. But it's still a bit more worrisome. Good. Me and you will sneak in. You're coming with me? Yes. I know the technique well. And I am also quite proficient at stealth. So, I can cast some spells that will allow us more stealth. Hide it and conceal our footsteps. Do you understand? Yes, I do. Right. Kirishima jumping up, talking about how Indra should be back with the potion soon. He did give her that magical boost, along with some of his gold. Deku turning, before telling him, he's sorry about that. He can pay him back. It's fine, Izuku. Listen, just... we'll get through this alright, okay? Maybe. I'm not sure. I know I'm worried about those prisoners. Do you think that we can free them? Deku turning to the woman, who does begin to express. She's uncertain. When the fighting breaks out, those people may not be alive anymore. They can only hope they leave the prisoners alone. Perhaps planting a flower in or nearby a cell might deter them. If they think that their prisoners are the ones with that smell, they may be deterred from entering their cells. Though it is not on her list of confirmed suspicions. And he doesn't nod his head, understanding as now all they can do is wait. In Kirishima, he himself does have his own concerns, heading away to go sharpen his blade and try to focus his mind. And whenever he does this, someone sit down and speak with a dwarven man, he does go to help Kirishima, talking back and forth with him a little bit and helping to ease the tension he's feeling. And there is later, where they do have Indra fly back to the camp and land. Her making her way over and talking about the potions. Right now, her holding up quite a few. And Indra, she does even give Deku a suggestion. She bought 5 of the magical potions. The shop clerk said that they should last for about an hour. But if her and Well, him, her pointing at the two, talking about it, split a potion that should be about 30 minutes. The rest of the troops, they could also take sips of the potion, be invisible for a few, and ready to ambush them the moment they run out the fortress. Yes, they can distract them, but they're not sure how long that might take. And people, they do just won't talk about this. Splitting 4 potions between this large force, it would only keep them invisible for, if they do ration them properly, about maybe 5-7 minutes at most. That's what they do believe. But even then, they're talking about over 20 people for 1 or even 2 potions. It wouldn't work. Yes, they can have a small force ready to attack, but her idea is not unfounded. The mages need to be close for the illusion to stay together, to stay cohesive. So the illusionary force will have to be on the battlefield. Whenever they do have that thing be what draws them out, that can be what allows them to head in. Their mages can fall back and be a bit more of a supporting role. And this idea, it does come from Kirishima. Deku acknowledging it as everyone, they do being a bit more cohesive. And there is where Deku, he does begin to somewhat gear up. Right now, him being informed by Erodos as to what to do. They need to be careful and light. Her bringing her hand up and poking her finger directly into his chest plate, telling him he cannot be wearing this heavy armor. It will give him away. If he's wearing the same weights from the tournament, then take them off. Deku bringing his hand up, grabbing his chest piece and beginning to unbuckle it. And people, they do go to see these two. Deku staying there, as right now he does have the cape covering his torso, as he does express, readjusting it to one side. If this is better. It is. Anything else weighted? You were wearing 4. I have those in my inventory. I plan to go back to using them later. But anything else? Her looking down, seeing that Deku's shoes should suffice. How should I ask him exactly how durable he is? Why? Does your armor squeak? No, it doesn't. I've worn it in pretty well. It's wyvern leather. I see. Definitely tough. Her staring at him for a second, looking him up and down, before she does go to express, grabbing the long strand of hair that does have the warrior bead on it, expressing to him he might want to tie this properly and remove this metal piece. It could get caught on something. Or, for a fact, simply cut his hair. And Pyra does a turn, seeing the way this woman is acting towards her Izuku, quickly making her way over and going to step in between, asking exactly what's going on here. And Deku does go to bring his hands up, telling her she's trying to help him for this stealth operation, though he does need to cut his hair apparently. It does kind of suck. The warrior bead he's keeping, that was something that Sir Theodore tied for him, his mentor. And she does stare at Deku, nodding her head and informing him, going to pull a light dagger from her torso to follow her, since she can get this over with quickly and they can proceed. Since if he's seen, then there would be an easy way to grab him and slit his throat. And Deku does stare at that for a second, kind of nodding his head and telling her, it's nothing. They should be fine. Pyra being a bit annoyed and telling him, it's not nothing. She's an Oni. What about that? She likes strong warriors. Izuku, you're strong. I'm sure it's okay. Listen, I'll be okay. I'm more worried about you when the fighting starts. I'll be fine. Just don't get hurt and be careful. Her giving Erodos a side eye. And Izuku, he does get to see that. Turning around and seeing that some of the men here, they do get to look away. Since this is the most entertaining thing they've seen since Night Watch. Now, with that being said, Deku does follow Erodos. Her sitting there for a minute, as Deku, he does sit down. Her sitting on the bench as she does go to grab Deku's ponytail and go to slice. Deku, feeling his hair begin to move down, and she does begin to grab strands of his hair and cut. And Izuku, he does sit here for a minute, feeling rather strange about this. And people do just stare at him. As after a few more minutes, Deku, he does get to sit there, bring his hands up and going to run them through his hair. It's short, it's cut, and it's trimmed. And he does a turn, her handing over the ponytail and informing him that this is now done, and they can go. Izuku looking at the hair that's here, before he does nod his head and understand. Right now, the two going to leave, quickly going to fly towards the camp. Now, Deku and Erodos, the two, when they are going through the air, they do try to maintain a good distance. Them heading directly around to the cliff facing and going to drink the potion. Deku taking half the potion as she does drink the other half. And when they do find themselves invisible, Deku, he does go to feel someone grab him by his arm. Him going to grab her by her wrist as the two, they do to carefully fly the way up the side of the mountain. Now, Deku, he is moving carefully, bringing his hand out and just touching the side. However, as the two do to make their way up higher and higher, there is where they do to find the fortress. And this time, Deku does bring his hand away from the wall, beginning to see some of the gore that does line it. And he's a little disturbed. Right now, them finally making their way up as the two, they do just sit there in the air. An orc gonna walk directly by them, please don't stop and turn. Deku bringing his hand up and ready to fire something through their head, wondering if it would be worth it. However, the person, they just don't sniff the air, looking around confused. Before an orc is a run by them and smash them on the shoulder, roaring out and then gonna turn, chuckling as they do a running past, quickly moving. And Deku does turn his head, seeing as something is sent careening over the walls, and it does make a liquidy sound. However, it is horrible. In this, it does make him want to try and shake his head to regain focus. The two flying forwards and landing down towards the middle of the camp. And Deku, he does go to look around, as Erodos does begin to cast a spell that will allow them to silently move around. And whenever Deku does a turn looking towards one of the prison pens, he does see a large gathering of men and women, civilians, people, some who might be warriors. And the two do go to quickly make their way over. Right now, them well aware as to what's happening. The moment they plant one, they need to hurry, keep things moving. And Izuku, he does go to stand here. Someone right now sitting in the pen and going to wait. The man with long, shaggy hair and a short beard sitting there. Before something does a grab him by the arm and he does a turn, attempting to flinch as a strong grip he can't pull away from. And over a hand does it to find him, Izuku does begin to speak. Shh. Listen. My name is Izuku. We're here to rescue you. Right now I'm from one of the camps nearby. We're attempting to launch an attack and we need your help. Nod if you understand. The person nodding, and Deku does express. They found a corpse flower. A pungent flower that can do a lot. It's going to be bad, and it's going to smell worse. When he gets a chance, inform the other prisoners. He's going to hand him one of the enclosed flowers, and when the attack does get started, he wants them to know. Him turning his head, the orcs hearing a sound as it is beginning to start roaring outside. People running together and watch the spectacle. And Deku does slightly raise his voice a bit more. That's the distraction. Right now, they've got 30 minutes. Less than that, actually. Whenever things start going rancid and smell bad, puncture this flower. They are going to think it's coming from them. How many of them have gone missing? Have been hurt by them? About 10. How many of you are there? 15. How many of you were there? There was 40. I'm sorry. Did any of you guys get taken last night? No. No, they went out hunting. Their war party was able to gather some things. But not many of them returned. That's on me. Deku pulling it out of his inventory, handing it over quickly and telling him, hide it wherever he can. Deku handed him another one, wanting to make sure these people are safe. And when the man does get a silently turn, thanking him, Deku's already gone. Him and Aerodos, they do go to move. Deku going to place these things in locations she doesn't tell him about. Deku walking around this fort, seeing how large and massive this place is. Deku hiding an open one in a bale of hay. Deku walking past one of the things they do get a ride, making his way towards the commander's location and going to plant one directly down and into some stone before he does that turn. Him going to walk over and going to move before he is to walk into a room and going to plant one here, turning and looking around at the barracks before he does begin to look around and go to see one of the bedrolls. It does go to sit there. Deku going to stuff one side of the pillow and go to lay it flat. Right now him well aware as to what they got to do. And after Deku and Aerodos do plant a lot of these flowers, they do to wait. Right now, the prisoners have some. Though, these things are going to begin emitting a smell. If the orcs haven't already smelled it, then that means much. Though, that also does have him a bit more worried. If he does open one now, perhaps it can draw them into an attack already. Try to get them to flee. And this, it is good. However, they do need to wait. Aerodos informing Izuku about the time they do have left. And after they do to fly away, they do head back towards their camp. A weak barrier spell being put up around the top of the fortress. And right now, there is where they do begin the waiting game. And the troops, they are all aware as to what's happened. Right now, their mages, they're ready. They need to recharge after the exertion they had to magic. And right now, their forces are on the move, ready and waiting for anything. They just need to stay out of sight and wait for those flowers to bloom. And this, it does somewhat worry Deku. Currently, him staying there with a party of warriors. And the commander, he does go to have his own worries, have his own concerns. This is definitely an odd tactic for a battle. However, he wishes to see how it does play out. And he does going to use a magical crystal to relay his information to the king, allowing the man to know what's happening. And he is quite intrigued and get a bit of a laugh knowing this. And there is the commander. He does go to give a speech about what will be happening today. They will take that fort and begin to hold it from those forces. They will not allow themselves to be overrun and taken down. The king will send aid for them, and they have to hold out. Hold that fortress and keep it safe. And this, it does help to inspire people. As warriors, they do get ready. And Izuku, he does want to sit here. And whenever the sun does begin to start going down over the horizon, the last rays of light beginning to fade, there is where the flowers finally go to bloom. And the orcs, they do to blow their horns, raising an alarm that something is wrong inside the fortress. And this, it does go to cause the troops to begin sprinting towards the battlefield. And Izuku, he is one of the first ready. Him, right now riding in on horseback, ready to fight, ready to take them on and see what will happen. And right now, he is joined by Kirishima to his right, Erodos to his left, Bula, Mogak, Oliver, and Indra. Indra's flying overhead, and she is quite intrigued to see about what they will be facing. Dozens of opponents and foes. If their force can take them on, then that will mean quite a bit. And Izuku, he does have spirit pouring through his eyes. Him ready. And he does go to begin seeing those forces charge through the gate. Them running out feral and angry. He can see the red of their eyes from here. And he does go to see a large commander stepping out. Him with a massive spear and going to roar out a command. Before, Deku does see a magical aura surrounding him. And then he does see 5 large creatures come flowing from the mist. And his eyes, they go wide of terror. They almost have a crown-like bone skull. They have red eyes. They don't have skin covering their lower jaw and lips. Their bodies are white. Their hands are enlarged and misshapen, and they're terrifying. They're shrouded in darkness. He can see every rib. But their hands. Someone shouting out that the Bone Claws are on the battlefield, and that there are more this time. And Izuku, he does go riding into battle. Him seeing these creatures begin to fly towards them and their forces. And people, they do begin to roar out with a battle cry. And Kirishima, he does go to bring his hand up and roar out his own. Him amplifying the abilities of many people. And right now, I believe that is a good point to leave off of. And I do hope you guys enjoyed. Have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part.